Salutations, spooks, spirits, and specters, and welcome back to a little bit more of Corpse Party Book of Shadows. Chapter 5 has a little bit of an interesting twist in that you do need to clear it in order to unlock an extended variation of its ending. It doesn't require you to replay through the whole thing. You can just load up right after Shige has his little conversation with Nana's friends over in the secondary building. But before you investigate Taguchi's body across the hole in the floor, you'll see me clicking on the screen trying to figure out what to do, but that's because I thought you had to move on the map. So enjoy the extended ending. Here you go. Taguchi is completely motionless. It's impossible to tell from here if he's dead or Something hit me hard right in the back of the head. I began descending face first toward the ground. It felt like I was falling in slow motion, though. The ground just kept coming up, yet for some reason I couldn't even put my hands out to break the fall. It was like I was being slowly swept toward a wall by some giant wave. My glasses fell from my face, and I distinctly remember watching them roll around. Mitsuki's panicked screams brought me back to reality. Suddenly, I remembered what was happening. She and I had pursued Emi Urabe from the pool back into the school building, and found her quickly enough. Unfortunately, she was already dead. Her head had been smashed open on the ground like a roasted chestnut. Who could have done such a thing, we thought. And like it or not, it seemed I'd now learned the answer. Mitsuki was inconsolable, understandably, but after some doing, I'd finally managed to drag her away from Urabe's remains. We'd just begun walking back toward the school entranceway when I got struck from behind and found myself careening toward the floor.
Oh, my head!
I was losing focus, but could still make out the pool of blood spilling from my head, accompanied by a sound reminiscent of a leaky faucet. And unfortunately, I could also make out the vague form of a man standing over me, raising whatever he'd hit me with into the air for another strike.
Yamek!
I instinctively shielded my head with my right arm, and felt every nerve ending and every muscle in it twist unnaturally as the blunt object came down. Mitsuki's tomboyish face looked uncharacteristically wrinkled and puffy, with tears streaming down both cheeks. Or maybe it was just my blurry vision.
Mitsuki!
Mitsuki's sobbing screams and frantic footsteps began receding into the distance. This made me feel a little better. At least she'd be safe, I thought. It took only moments for my vision to go completely dark, but then I had taken a hammer to the head. Still, considering what I'd just been through, I'd expected to be unconscious by now, but I wasn't. I could feel every part of my body clearly. I kind of wished I couldn't, considering, but I was pretty sure I could still move, at least for the moment, so I decided to do my part. With my uncrushed left arm, I reached out blindly, felt my attacker's leg as he began turning to pursue Mitsuki, and grabbed on tight. Mitsuki was important to me. Was I still alive? I couldn't even count the number of broken bones I'd suffered, and I could still feel every one of them. My head, my arms, my ribs, every part of me was throbbing with agony. No one part of my body hurt more than another. Every injury was unbearable.
驚いたな。この状態で生きてるのか。
Someone was next to me, down on one knee, head right at my ear from the sound of it. A young man, probably around my age.
聞こえてるか。何があった？
I couldn't see a thing at this point, not even vague shapes, but the voice addressing me sounded somehow familiar. I felt this was someone I could trust.
Minna. Yamamoto. Ah, 頼まれた。ちゃんと面倒見てやるよ。
Even without seeing his face, I could tell he was sneering when he said this. Then, in the next instant, I felt something hot bore into my abdomen.
お前はもう楽になれ。もっとも、ここじゃ死んでも痛みは消えないらしいけどな。どうでもいいだろ。お前はもう死ぬ。
Mitsuki, Run. Which way?
黒崎がきっとこの校舎のどっかに。知らせなきゃ。
I ran anywhere and everywhere looking for Kurosaki, screaming his name at the top of my lungs, but he was simply nowhere to be found.
黒崎！どこ？黒崎！
Not in here either. I had no idea when that horrible, expressionless man would show up again with his giant hammer. Every little sound was making me cower in fear. What I needed was a weapon, something to defend myself with. There had to be something like that in here, right? There's an oversized chisel in one of the drawers.
これなら武器になるかも。とにかく身を守らないと。くそ、震えるな。
I carefully took the chisel into my quaking hands. I wasn't sure if I'd actually be able to fend off an attacker with it, but it was certainly better than nothing.
Kurosaki, やっぱりいない。どこ行ったのよ。Fukuroi、ごめんね。私一人で逃げて。怖くて頭の中パニックって。フクロエは私のこと構ってくれてたのに。臆病者だよね、私。もし私が男で勇気と力があったら、黒崎や木南くんみたいな強い男子だったら、フクロイのこと助けてあげられたのに。誰か来る。誰？さっきのあいつだったら私。
山本、無事か？探したぞ。
Tall and handsome, but always just a little on edge, he never changed one bit. This was Yuya Kizami, one of my classmates.
キザミくん、フクロイが、エミも、二人
山本、大丈夫、大丈夫だ。事情は大体分かってる。
だって二人とも殺されたんだよ、あの変な男に。ひどい。
ああ、知ってる。さっき俺も見た。この彫刻刀はこれでそいつと戦おうなんて思ったのか。
私なんかじゃかなわないだろうけど、でもただ殺されるよりはって。
バカだな山本、こんなもの必要ないんだよ。
Kizami cupped my right hand between both of his, as if consoling me, and gently removed the chisel from my grip. He was so gentlemanly about it, his touch soft and caring.
キザミ君。
俺が今お前の恐怖をすっきり終わらせてやるから。かわすか。動けるな山本。
何するの？冗談は。
あんまり変わらないと思うけどね。俺が本気でも冗談でも山本が死ぬことにはさ。
What? What was going on? Why was he doing this?
なんで？何？やだよ、やめて。
さっきの話だけど一個訂正な。フクロイは殴られて死んだんじゃない。刺されて死んだんだよ。こんな感じでブスッと。逃げるのか？疲れるだろ。あまり無理するなよ。
There's a candle shimmering here, along with a note. Whatever you do, don't look behind you.
振り返ったらどうなるって言うんだ。
来ないで。
どうしたんだフクロイ君は。
うるさい！来るなってば！お前も
錯乱してるみたいだな。何があったんだ、山本さん。
触るな。血が手に血が。お前やっぱりお前も。
誤解だよ。これはさっき死体を調べた時に。
おかしいって思ったんだ。あんなに平気で死体に触って。やっぱりだ。
これじゃ何を言っても無駄だな。
私は騙されない。もう引っかからない。
やかましい女だ。生きている人間はうるさくてかなわないな。人は寡黙な方がいい。山本さん、もう行ってしまったのかい。
I ran as fast as I could, as far as I could. It was obvious to me now that even Morishige was out of his mind. There was no one left I could trust.
上だ。上へ逃げれば。
よう、山本。
Without even a moment's hesitation, my classmate Kazami suddenly swung a giant chisel in my general direction, narrowly missing me.
大丈夫か？逃げ惑うのもいいけど、無理するなよ。体力は温存しておかないと。この辺でいいか。大丈夫か？
やめてよ。
え？何をだ？
ひどいことしないでよ。私あんたに何もしてないじゃん。
そうだ、返さなきゃな、これ。
A sudden burning pain shot through my body, shaking my whole field of vision. The fat, dull blade of the chisel had been forcibly plunged deep into my thigh, all the way up to the handle.
感触がやはり違うんだな。男と女とでは。なるほど。
There wasn't much I could do to resist. Not only had he knocked me over, but he was kneeling on the backs of my hands, holding me in place quite effectively.
いいぞ。正直だ、その反応。嘘をつかないやつは好感が持てる。本番と行くか、こいつで。
Yuya Kazami had a twisted grin on his face. He slowly brought his right hand into view, and in it was a proper knife, glinting in the dull light.
Yamamoto, ほらここ、お前の腹に行くぞ。
I could feel Yuya Kazami reach up from under my skirt and press the cold blade of the knife against my abdomen. And then, with one thrust, the knife was completely inside my body. My thoughts became jumbled. The pain was so intense, it felt like my brain was on fire. It took me a moment to process the sensation of a foreign body lodged unnaturally within me. I could feel all the blood gushing out from the wound.
Easy, Yamamoto. その調子だ。いい声聞かせてくれよ。
I'd never felt anything even remotely like this before in my entire life. I couldn't even describe it if I wanted to. The pain receptors in my body were off the charts. I couldn't comprehend the things I was feeling. But despite my confusion and agony, I knew one thing for certain. If I couldn't stop this from happening right now, I was going to die. Every part of me was in agreement on that. My nerve endings were screaming it, and my brain could focus on little else. I might as well have been on fire. I couldn't hurt any more than what I was experiencing. No, it was too late for me. I could tell that the wounds inflicted were irreversible, irreparable. I had to accept it. I was going to die. I'd begun vomiting blood, and it was beginning to lodge itself in my respiratory tract. Breathing was becoming harder and harder with each passing moment. My abdomen had been completely minced at this point, and the pain was so intense that I wished I could just leave my body altogether. My arms and legs were cold and numb, and my sense of reality was beginning to waver. My last breath couldn't be far behind. And yet, Yuya Kazami was smiling. It was a distant, relaxed smile, as of someone looking up at the stars or smelling a rose. It was the smile of a psychopath, the smile of a person about to end my life. For no particular reason.
ちょっと声が小さくなってきたんじゃないか？もっと聞かせてくれよ。
I couldn't believe those words were coming out of my mouth. I could barely speak through all the blood I was spewing, but I was standing my ground.
Huh?
意地でもお前の思い通りに。
てめえ。
For just a moment, Yuya Kazami's psychotic grin turned into a bitter, scornful frown. But then, as quickly as it had vanished, the smile returned.
なんだそりゃ。抵抗のつもりか？我慢なんてするなよ。おい。どうした？声が小さいぞ。ほら叫べよ。いてんだろ。会話しようぜ会話。なんか言うことあるんだろ。泣きたいだろ。命乞いしたいだろ。
I was concentrating so hard on biting my lip and holding my mouth closed that I swear I'd forgotten how to breathe. I think I even broke my molars from the sheer force of my determination not to yield to Yuya Kazami's twisted desires, and I didn't even care. I'd have no use for my teeth ever again anyway. I wouldn't be eating anything where I was going. I wouldn't scream for him to stop. I wouldn't call for help, and I wouldn't beg for my life. My life was already over. All I had left was the knowledge that I'd go out quietly, without giving this sick freak any measure of satisfaction.
俺の方を向けよ。無視するなよ。話せよ。言葉を。
He was beyond redemption. There was absolutely nothing I could say or do to help him. I could either waste away silently or feed his psychosis. I could never make him understand how I felt at that moment. I could never convey to him just what he'd done to me. Death was my best and only option.
Yamamoto さん、君も死んだのか。
This was definitely the body of Mitsuki Yamamoto. Her stomach and abdomen had been stabbed dozens upon dozens of times and were practically liquefied. They looked a bit like gazpacho. Her body was still warm to the touch, too, meaning her death must have only just occurred.
不思議なもんだな。ほんの数分前に話した人間がこうして死んでいるっていうのは。だけど山本さん、綺麗だ。とっても綺麗だ。さっきまでとは雲泥の差だ。君は今完全に自分の全てをさらけ出して無抵抗だ。いいよね。君を連れて行くよ。
I withdrew my phone, flipped it open, and switched over to camera mode, where I immediately set about framing her remains at just the right angle. I didn't mind if it was just her image on that tiny screen. To me, it was as good as having the real thing in my pocket. The appeal was identical. It was as if I could freeze time on this moment and preserve her just the way she was.
やっぱりだ。俺自身の目で見て、触れ、匂いを嗅いで、こうして生の君を知ったから。生きていた時の君を見て、声を聞き、感情に触れていたから。見てくれよこんなに綺麗に通れた。もう君は俺だけのものだたまらない。たまらない。君はひどいやつだな俺をこんなに興奮させて、心をかき乱して。どこか落ち着ける場所へ行こう。あ、そうだ。またあそこに。そういえば今日はマユにセビリアの理髪師の録画を頼まれていた。時間までに家へ帰らないと。後でマユに謝らないとな。ずいぶん集まったな。死体の写真。これだ。
This was the sculpture known as Mitsuki Yamamoto in life, but in death she was my property. One of my many pieces of found art. Those spirited eyes, now dulled and clammy, those lips that spoke such harsh words, now stained with blood, her abdomen shredded, her innards exposed. So alluring, so captivating was she now. Sometimes, destroying that which is beautiful only serves to make it more beautiful. And truly, this was the proof.
しかし、やっぱり残念だな。
It was a shame that I could only gaze upon these gorgeous works of art within these school grounds. Before returning home with Mayu, I'd need to erase every one of these photographs from my phone.
でもまあいいか、まだ